Miss Christina here is suffering from female pattern baldness. Well, the one I made for today is for no parting. So basically, she wants to wear bangs. She doesn't want to part her hair. So this is the Christina no parts. These are used for, they're going to be tied at the front, okay? So these stay on the whole time. Don't cut them off. All right. So don't be nervous. So the most simple way to explain this is the Weave Buddy is going to become your client's new hairline, and in this case, crown and nape. Okay, so when you are sewing on hair, just remember always that this is her new hairline. That's all. And then I'll show you the protective paddles in a little while. So for now, we're going to go ahead and tie this around in the front. If she's more comfortable holding it, she can. Okay, like I said though, do not cut these off. Not for this particular hair loss, because it's so advanced that these really help in keeping the weave in place for the whole duration. So since she doesn't have any hair on top, we're going to go ahead and start attaching where there is hair, okay? If I said it too quickly, when you are applying the Christina, make sure that the indentations, these go behind the ear. This is the shape of her ear. So you'll know that it's a band that goes over from back to front with the indentations going behind the ear like this, okay? So in this case, since there's no hair up here, let's go ahead and start. First, I'd like to attach, let's go ahead and bring this kind of, move this out of the way. So take the crown and nape part and pin it over so that it's not in your way. Do you see how first I am sewing onto the lace? I'm sewing the braids onto the lace first. Lace onto the braids. Right now we are not attaching the plastic part yet. We're just attaching the lace onto the braids. Until you get to the bottom. And just a rule of thumb, whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. So let's get to the other side. Okay, so we're doing the same on the other side, taking the lace and sewing it onto the prepared braids. Now if you notice my braid pattern, when they have this particular type of hair loss, I find that it's best to braid their hair this way instead of like a little circle, because the little circle will just pop out this way. But when you have the rolls, you're able to sew the hair in better, and it really stays in better and longer with this type of braiding. Now, if you, as you can see, this doll head is so tiny, so it's a little too big down here. If you want to keep the elastic down here, which I really recommend for this type of hair loss, just make it smaller. Make the elastic smaller, okay? And then you can just tack it up. It's better if you don't cut, don't cut it. Not this little one. The big one, you can trim trim a little. They come really long. You can trim these front ones. They can be trimmed because they do come in really long. But this back one, if it's too big, just fold it and sew it in. Now we've sewn in both sides. Now we're gonna go ahead and go back up and start sewing the weave buddy onto the braids. And then as you go up, you're gonna notice that there are some slits. I call them slits, those little openings. You're gonna be closing them up as you come up. Now, it's very important to close those slits because those are what start shaping the weave buddy to form onto her scalp. Now, you probably are wondering why we didn't just start sewing the weave buddy onto the braids immediately. The sewing it onto the lace first, and it goes fast once you're used to it. Helps you start shaping it properly and helps you see where it's going to be laying. It's just trial and error for me. I know that doing the lace first works better. It just does. So I'm closing the slits here, and I'm also connecting it on to the braids. Let's do the same on the other side. This is so amazing. It's already starting to take form real nicely. We're gonna work on this in a little bit, but let's get this on the other side. Now, if she actually had hair up here, we'd be, normal hair up here and only missing the hairline. We'd be starting from middle all the way down and then from middle all the way down in the back area. But since she only had hair on these both sides, I started it from where there was hair. So let me go ahead and finish this other side. Okay, so now both sides have been tacked down pretty well. And I'm going to bring this down. And so now, because she doesn't have hair here, what I want to do is I just want to take the slits and start closing them up. Here. does not have any edges or any type of little hair. But just in case there's one or two little stragglers there that could potentially pull on her, then the protective paddle will protect her own hair from being pulled. And even if she had shiny, bald, no hair, it's a good idea to use the protective paddle because it will keep you from poking your client's skin. Okay? So always use your protective paddle when you are sewing the Weave Buddy around her skin area. I'm gonna go up here, close this slit. Starting to take nice form here. And it's okay if you notice there's like a little space under there, because usually she would have braids, but she doesn't. It's okay, it's still gonna stay in place. Let's bring the Weave Buddy up a little bit. As you're sewing upward, then bring up your Weave Buddy. And we're about to go ahead and go to the other side very soon. So let's go ahead and make sure that we start closing more slits. Everything is tacked up on both sides. Let's get a protective paddle and start closing these side slits. Come up to the next slit. Go to the other side. Now, I don't call these the ones that are closed. Those are not the slits. The slits are the opened ones, so don't get that confused. When you're closing slits, you're closing the ones that are open, not the closed ones. I mean, Okay, so it is open, but the end is closed. So if the end is closed, you're not trying to close these slits. We're only focusing on the ones that are completely open. So now I'm gonna go up and close this top one here. Now, if your client has a, bigger head and doesn't need all of the slits closed, just make sure that you put thread through, and just, you don't have to pull it super tight if it's already fitting her snug, but just make sure that you do tie the slits together though, okay? You don't, if you don't need to close it up because it's like fits her exactly, just make sure that the slits are closed. Now I missed this one here, so I'm gonna go back to this one. And now we're gonna start working on the top. Okay, Kanisha. So I'm sorry you have the old model. That's all. I sent you what I had. I spent all day working on this just for you, my Saturday. So this piece right here is going to go on to, there's the Weave Buddy, the front part has an indentation right there. You're gonna sew this on to that indentation, okay? So that it could look like this. Once it's on, once you have that sewn on, what we're gonna start doing is closing these slits here so that it starts taking the form, more of her form of her scalp, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do it to the other side so that way it can be molded to the point where, look, see? We can mold it and it can become the shape of her head. So I'm gonna grab another needle, go to this other side, bring this down, yes, okay, and it's hard to go around the camera. Let's see. Okay. So we're closing this other side up. This piece has the capability of really forming into your client's scalp so that it can feel natural as she's using it. Okay, so I'm going to start closing the slits as I go down on both sides. So you're going down on both sides, closing slits. You don't want to do one side complete first, because then it can get crooked, okay? So do both sides, work on both sides evenly. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring this one down and close the slit there. And then I'm gonna do it to this side, okay? Okay, going down until you actually are able to attach it to the braids. You're going to keep doing that same pattern until you reach hair. So now that I've reached some hair, I'm going to go ahead and attach that net and the weave buddy onto the braids. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on that other side because we don't want it to get uneven. Come back downward. See how it's taking shape of her scalp? Closing that slit. Okay, so now we are finally reached hair, so you can go ahead and be closing the slits and at the same time attaching the weave buddy. Make sure you are attaching the weave buddy onto the hair. Now I have to get a new needle. Close the slit. Now, if your client doesn't want nape coverage, you can trim off different blocks. That's why they're, separated too. So if you only want, hairline and crown coverage, you can remove it to here, okay? Or here. It's up to you. Okay, so we are continuing to attach the weave buddy onto the hair and the net and the weave buddy back here and closing slits. All of that is going on simultaneously from one side to the other pretty evenly. It's very important because, it has to go down the center. So if you work on one side only, you're going to tilt it. But if you're working on both sides, you can keep it pretty even. Now, if your client doesn't have hair on that nape area, like this, some people are missing that part, these work great to sew a full head of hair, even if she's missing a nape. Coming to this side, making sure that it's completed over here, attaching this so that the whole unit is attached back here, and then we'll go ahead and finish off the sides. Let's go ahead and attach the sides. I see that I missed closing this slit here all the way to the back, so I'm going to do that now. This thread is awful. Okay. And let's bring this baby down. Just bring it down and attach it to the corner. If her head is if it's not reaching the weave buddy, just sew it on the net. There should be enough net just to sew it down. I'm going to close, there's a slit here, I'm going to close it. Close this slit and then go ahead and grab a braid and tack that down. Close this slit. Grab a braid. Still close that a little bit more. the miracle of closing slits is that it shrinks the weave buddy down to the shape of your client's scalp, so it feels like a glove. Okay, let's close this slit here. Careful not to poke her. And again, close the slits you want to close. If it feels like she doesn't need a certain one closed tightly, then, but just close it up loosely. Do you know what I mean? It still needs to be closed, but you don't have to do it tightly if the piece is already fitting her snug. So now, just one more. I'm gonna bring the rest of this thread closing up that slit. Can't hardly see you. Trying to not block the camera. There we go. And sewing this piece to the corner here. Close this slit. Okay, so we are finished with this. Now let me show you how firm this is. And even though she doesn't have edges, the front is nice and snug. See that? But, you know, save these, bring them over, and the client at night when she's sleeping, she can bring them, or like say for example, she goes in to get a shampoo. These can be very useful tools. I don't know how close I am here. These can be very, very useful tools because, you know, when she comes in for a shampoo, the weaves, when there's no hair in front, tend to want to pull back. These are a great tool to tie up while you're shampooing her. When she's sleeping, she can either tie a nice gentle knot here, or in front of her ear. Tie one this way, or she can, there's several ways. It just depends on how comfortable she is. She can bring it, if this was a real ear, it'd be able to go behind her ear like that, behind, and tie it up. Don't you love humans more than this? Tie it up, and that will keep that little bowl. That will really, really help in keeping this down, but as it grows. But like I said, for now, I mean, this is pretty firm. Even though there's no glue or tape, there is pretty firm. And then once the hair is on there, it'll be even more firm. But if, you know, talk to your client. If she's willing to leave these on, they're really a benefit in a sense that, you know, when you're getting shampooed, when you're sleeping at night, you know, the more, it's great, Weave Buddy's strong and everything, but help it out along the way. And the weave will stay in longer.